The space station called Harmony Prime floated in the darkness between three star systems. It was a place where young beings from hundreds of different worlds came to study together. The Galactic Academy of Studies was famous across the known universe. Students who graduated from here became diplomats, scientists, and leaders. Hana walked through the wide corridors of the station, her soft shoes making almost no sound on the metal floor. She had been here for 3 months now, and she still felt like a stranger. The young woman from Earth was 19 years old, with black hair that she kept tied back in a simple style. She moved carefully, always watching where she stepped, always aware of the beings around her. This was not because she was scared. It was because she had learned that she scared them. Hana was one of the first humans to ever attend the Academy. Earth had only made contact with the Galactic Confederation 5 years ago. The exchange program was new, experimental, and many species were still not sure if it was a good idea. Hana had worked very hard to be chosen. She had studied alien languages, alien customs, and alien biology. She had promised herself she would make Earth proud. But nobody had prepared her for the way other students looked at her. She entered the large lecture hall and found her usual seat in the back corner. The room was shaped like a half circle, with rows of seats rising up from a central stage. Holographic projectors hung from the ceiling. About 40 students were already seated, and more were arriving. Hana sat down and placed her tablet on the small desk in front of her. She noticed that the seats directly around her were empty. They were always empty. Arrived next. He was a small being covered in soft blue feathers with large dark eyes and a sharp beak. He came from a low-gravity moon where his people lived in tall trees, looked at Hana, looked at the empty seats around her, and chose to sit 3 seats away. He always sat 3 seats away. Hana did not blame him. She had read the medical reports. To beings like humans were giants. Hana was not even tall by Earth standards, but she was twice height and probably 10 times his weight. Her bones were dense. Her muscles were strong. If she accidentally bumped into him, she could break his hollow bones without even trying. So she understood, but understanding did not stop the loneliness. Morrow came in next, sliding into a seat on the other side of the room. Morrow was an amphibious being whose smooth skin changed colors based on emotion. Right now, the skin was a calm blue-green, but Hana had noticed it turned when Morrow was near her. Meant fear. Finally arrived. Was unlike anyone Hana had ever seen. The being was made of living crystal, beautiful and strange, with a body that caught the light and scattered it into rainbows. Did not speak with words. Instead, made sounds, musical tones that the translation devices turned into language. Hana found fascinating, but the crystal being always kept a careful distance. Professor entered the room and all conversation stopped. The professor was a delicate creature from a world called. She had 4 thin arms, large compound eyes, and beautiful translucent wings that folded against her back. She moved like she was made of glass, fragile and precise. Hana liked Professor. The professor was kind and patient, and she always made sure her lectures were interesting. Today, however, the professor seemed nervous. Her wings kept twitching and her movements were quick and sharp. "Good morning, students," the professor said. Her voice came through the translation system as a pleasant female tone. "Today, we begin a new unit. This unit will last 3 weeks, and I must warn you that some of the content may be disturbing." Hana opened a new document on her tablet, ready to take notes. Around her, other students did the same. "We will be studying Category 9 environments," Professor continued. "These are more commonly known as..." A murmur went through the class. Hana saw's feathers puff up slightly, a sign of anxiety. Morrow's skin flickered towards yellow, which meant curiosity mixed with worry. Hana wrote the word on her tablet and underlined it. She had heard this term before, in whispers and half-finished sentences, but nobody had ever explained it to her directly. "Before we begin," the professor said, I want to remind everyone that this is an academic subject. The things we discuss are real, but they are also rare. The galaxy is mostly safe. Most of you will never encounter or its inhabitants in your daily lives. Hannah felt something cold settle in her stomach. She was not sure why. Now then, Professor said, and the holographic display behind her flickered to life. Let us begin with the classification system. All known planets are ranked on a scale from Category 1 to Category 10. Category 1 planets are paradises, perfect for life. Category 10 planets are completely uninhabitable, impossible for any life to exist. The display showed a simple chart with numbers and descriptions. Hannah it onto her tablet. Most spacefaring species come from Category 2 or Category 3 worlds. These are gentle planets with stable climates, predictable weather, and low danger. This describes the of approximately 98% of known civilizations. The professor paused and looked at her students. Her compound eyes reflected the light from the holographic display. Category 9 worlds are different. They are environments so hostile, so dangerous, that for a very long time we believed intelligent life could never evolve there. We believed that any creature smart enough to think would be killed long before it could build a civilization. Hannah stopped writing. Her hand was very still on her tablet. We were wrong, Professor said quietly, and today we will learn why that matters. The cold feeling in Hannah's stomach grew stronger. She had a terrible suspicion that she already knew where this lesson was going. The holographic display grew larger, filling the front of the classroom with light and color. Professor touched a control on her podium, and the image changed to show a planet. It was an ugly world, brown and red, covered in swirling clouds that looked angry and violent. This is 7, the professor said. A Category 7 world. It has extreme temperature changes, toxic atmosphere, and frequent earthquakes. No intelligent life has ever evolved there, and none ever will. The conditions are simply too harsh. Hannah watched the planet spin slowly in the holographic display. It looked dead and empty. For comparison, Professor continued, my own of is a Category 2. We have gentle winds, stable temperatures, and very few predators. Our biggest natural danger is a type of flower that releases sleeping pollen. If you breathe too much, you might nap for an extra hour. Some students laughed softly at this. Hannah tried to imagine a world where the biggest danger was a sleepy flower. She could not. Category 9 worlds are something else entirely. The professor's voice became more serious. These planets seem designed to kill. Everything about them is hostile to life. And yet, somehow, life finds a way. Not just simple life, but complex life, dangerous life. The display changed again. Now it showed a list of characteristics, each one appearing with a small animation. Extreme weather patterns. Category 9 worlds experience hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, droughts, and ice storms, sometimes all in the same year, sometimes all in the same month. Hannah thought about the typhoons that hit Korea every summer. She thought about the news reports of floods and wildfires and blizzards. These were just normal things on Earth, just weather. Tectonic instability. The ground itself moves on these worlds. Mountains rise and fall. The land splits open without warning. Entire cities could be destroyed in moments. Hannah remembered learning about earthquakes in school. There had been one when she was 7 years old. She remembered the way her mother had grabbed her and pulled her under the kitchen table. She remembered the sound of things falling and breaking. Afterward, her father had helped their neighbors clean up the damage. It had taken weeks. Radiation exposure. Many Category 9 worlds orbit unstable stars or have thin atmospheric protection. The inhabitants must survive constant bombardment by harmful rays. Hannah touched her arm without thinking. She had gotten a sunburn last summer at the beach with her friends. Her skin had turned red and painful. She had put lotion on it and complained for 3 days. Now she wondered what the aliens would think of a species that went outside specifically to let radiation hit their skin. But the most dangerous characteristic, Professor said, is the biological environment, the other creatures that live on these worlds. The display changed to show a creature. It had a long body covered in scales, a massive mouth filled with teeth and small cold eyes. Hana recognized it immediately. It was a crocodile. Made a high-pitched sound of distress. His feathers stood straight up, making him look twice his normal size. Several other students shifted in their seats, moving away from the display. This is a predator from a Category 9 world, the professor explained. It can grow to 6 meters in length. It has one of the strongest bite forces ever recorded in any known species. It has barely changed in 200 million years because it did not need to. It was already perfect for killing. Hana looked at the crocodile on the screen. She had seen one in a zoo once, on a school trip. The guide had told them that crocodiles were actually very important for the ecosystem. They helped keep the rivers healthy. Hana had bought a small stuffed crocodile toy from the gift shop. These predators share their world with the intelligent species that evolved there, Professor continued. Imagine growing up on a planet where creatures like this exist. Imagine knowing that every time you approach water, something like this might be waiting for you. The display showed more creatures now. Lions, tigers, wolves, sharks, bears. Each image brought new sounds of distress from the class. Hana watched her classmates react to animals she had seen in picture books as a child. And it is not just large predators, the professor said. Category 9 worlds are also home to small killers, venomous creatures that inject poison, parasites that eat their hosts from the inside, insects that carry diseases. Now the display showed spiders, snakes, mosquitoes. Morrow had turned completely, the color of pure fear. Even's musical hum had become high and uncomfortable. But perhaps the most terrifying aspect of Category 9 biology is the microscopic environment. Professor's voice dropped lower. These worlds host bacteria and viruses so aggressive that they wage constant war inside the bodies of every living thing. The inhabitants of these worlds must have immune systems that fight and kill millions of invaders every single day just to stay alive. Hana thought about the last time she had been sick, a common cold, nothing serious. She had stayed home from school for 2 days, eaten soup and watched television. Her body had fought off the infection without any help. She had not even thought about it. Now she realized that this automatic process, this thing her body did without asking, was something that terrified entire civilizations. For many years, Professor said, scientists believed that no intelligent species could evolve on a Category 9 world. The challenges were too great, the dangers too many. Any species smart enough to think would surely be killed before it could develop technology. The professor paused. The classroom was very quiet. 30 years ago, we discovered we were wrong. We made first contact with a species from a Category 9 world, and everything we thought we knew about survival, about evolution, about the limits of life, changed forever. Hana gripped her tablet tightly. Her knuckles were turning white. She knew what was coming next. The holographic display flickered and changed. A new planet appeared, and Hana felt her heart stop beating for a moment. She knew that planet. She knew those blue oceans and green continents. She knew those white clouds swirling over familiar shapes. It was Earth. This, Professor announced, is the planet designated Sol 3 by galactic standard, but known to its inhabitants as Earth. It has a classification rating of 9.4. This is the highest rating ever given to a world that produced a spacefaring civilization. The classroom erupted in whispers. Students turned to look at each other with wide eyes. Feathers were pressed flat against his body now, a sign of extreme stress. Morrow had turned a color Hana had never seen before, something between and white. Hana sat perfectly still. She did not move. She did not breathe. She stared at the image of her home floating in the holographic display while her professor described it like a nightmare. Let us examine why Earth received such a high classification. Professor touched her control panel, and new information appeared beside the planet. First, the planetary conditions. Earth's rotational axis is tilted at 23 degrees. This creates what the inhabitants call seasons, extreme changes in temperature and weather that cycle throughout the year. The display showed images of the same place in different seasons. Summer, bright and green. Winter, buried in snow. Spring, floods. Autumn, storms. These seasonal changes regularly destroy ecosystems. Entire species must migrate thousands of kilometers just to survive. Others must hibernate, shutting down their bodies for months at a time. The planet essentially tries to kill everything on it 4 times every year. Hannah thought about the cherry blossoms in spring. She thought about building snowmen with her brother Ho in winter. She thought about summer vacation at her grandmother's house in the countryside. These were her favorite memories. Now they sounded like survival stories. The planet is also tectonically active, the professor continued. Earthquakes occur regularly. Volcanic eruptions release toxic gases into the atmosphere. The continental plates are constantly moving, reshaping the surface over millions of years. Additionally, approximately 70% of Earth's surface is covered in water. But this is not ordinary water. It is filled with salt and other minerals that are toxic to most known species. The inhabitants of Earth somehow require this toxic liquid to survive. They must consume it every day or die. Hannah looked at her water bottle. It was just water, regular water. She drank it without thinking. Now she learned that to most of the galaxy it was poison. The atmosphere contains 21% oxygen, Professor said. Oxygen is a highly reactive gas. It causes rust, it fuels fire, and it damages cells at the molecular level. Most species would die quickly in such an atmosphere. Earth creatures have evolved to use this poison as their primary energy source. They breathe oxygen, process it through their bodies, and use it to power their muscles and brains. Raised a shaking wing. Professor, are you saying they breathe fire inside their bodies? In a manner of speaking, yes. The chemical process is similar to controlled combustion. Earth creatures are essentially burning fuel inside themselves at all times. The class went silent again. Hannah could hear her own heartbeat. She could feel her lungs expanding and contracting, pulling in that poisonous oxygen, using it to keep her alive. She had never thought of breathing as dangerous before. But the atmosphere and geology are not what make Earth truly deadly, the professor said. It is the life that evolved there. The display began showing animals again, but this time there was context, size comparisons, speed measurements, kill statistics. Earth has produced more apex predators than any other known world, creatures that exist solely to hunt and kill other creatures. And unlike most planets, where predators and prey are clearly separated, on Earth the line is blurred. Prey animals have evolved to be just as dangerous as predators. An image of a hippopotamus appeared. It looked fat and slow and harmless. This creature is responsible for more deaths than most Earth predators. It can bite through metal. It can run faster than the intelligent species that shares its continent. It kills anything that enters its territory. Then came elephants, moose, wild boar. Animals that Hannah had always thought of as gentle or harmless, now described as killing machines. And then there are the small creatures. The display showed insects and spiders. Earth has millions of species of tiny organisms that inject venom, carry diseases, or simply bite pieces off of larger creatures. No place on the planet is safe from them. Not the coldest mountains, not the hottest deserts, not even the depths of the ocean. His crystalline body was ringing with a high, uncomfortable frequency. The sound was almost painful to hear. The intelligent species of Earth evolved in this environment, Professor said. They survived alongside all of these dangers, and in surviving, they became something the galaxy had never seen before. The display changed one final time. Now it showed a human, a man standing straight and tall, looking directly at the camera with clear, forward-facing eyes, predator's eyes. Humans, the professor said quietly, the most successful species ever to emerge from and quite possibly, the most dangerous creatures in the known galaxy. Hannah stared at the image of the human man. He looked normal to her. He looked like her father, like her uncles, like the boys she had gone to school with. But around her, 40 alien students were looking at that same image with pure terror in their eyes. And slowly, one by one, they began to turn and look at her. Hannah felt the weight of 40 pairs of eyes pressing down on her. Some students had moved to the edges of their seats, ready to run. Others had frozen completely, like small animals hopping a predator would not notice them. Professor continued her lecture, unaware of what was happening in the back of the room. "Let us examine what makes humans so remarkable," the professor said, "and so dangerous." The holographic display showed a human figure running. The animation was simple, showing the basic movement of legs and arms. Humans practice something called endurance hunting. This is perhaps the most terrifying hunting strategy ever evolved. Unlike most predators, humans cannot run very fast. Almost every animal on their planet can escape them in a short chase. The display showed a human chasing a deer. The deer quickly ran ahead, leaving the human far behind. But humans do not need to be fast. They simply need to be persistent. When a human selects prey, they follow it. They walk, they jog, they track, they never stop, never rest, never give up. The animation continued. The deer stopped to rest. The human kept coming. The deer ran again. The human kept coming. Hours passed in the animation. The deer grew tired. The human kept coming. Most Earth animals can only run in short bursts before their bodies overheat. They must stop and cool down. But humans have a unique adaptation. They sweat. Their bodies release liquid that evaporates and cools them down while they are still moving. They can run for hours without stopping. The animation showed the deer finally collapse from exhaustion. The human walked up to it calmly and killed it with a simple tool. This is how humans hunted for hundreds of thousands of years. They would choose an animal and simply follow it until it died of exhaustion. No other known species uses this strategy. It is uniquely human. Hannah thought about her morning runs. She had started jogging when she was 15, just to stay healthy. She would run for 30 or 40 minutes without stopping. Her alien classmates, she now realized, would consider this horrifying. Human bodies are also remarkably durable, Professor continued. They can heal from injuries that would kill most species. The display showed medical images, broken bones knitting back together, wounds closing and scarring over, damaged organs regenerating. A human can break multiple bones and survive. They can lose significant amounts of blood and recover. They can be burned, cut, crushed, and poisoned, and their bodies will fight to repair the damage. There are documented cases of humans surviving injuries so severe that our medical experts believed the reports were false. Hannah thought about her grandmother Sunyi. The old woman had told her stories about the war, about walking for 3 days on a broken foot to reach safety. Hannah had always thought her grandmother was exaggerating. Now she was not so sure. Humans can also ignore pain, the professor said. Not eliminate it, but override it. When necessary, a human can force their body to keep functioning despite signals telling them to stop. They call this adrenaline response the fight-or-flight instinct, but the remarkable thing is that humans almost always choose to fight. A student in the front row raised a trembling appendage. "Professor, how can anything choose to fight when it is injured? Is that not irrational?" By our standards, yes, but humans did not evolve by our standards. They evolved on a world where stopping meant death, where giving up meant being eaten. Their psychology is built around one simple fact: survival requires action, so they act even when action seems impossible. The professor paused to take a breath. Hana noticed that even she seemed disturbed by what she was teaching. Perhaps the most unusual aspect of human psychology is their social bonding. Humans form extremely strong attachments to other beings, not just family members or mates, but friends, acquaintances, even strangers. They also form attachments to animals, to objects, even to ideas. The display showed images of humans with dogs, cats, horses, humans hugging each other, humans crying at funerals for people they had never met. This bonding behavior seems harmless, even positive, but consider what it means in combination with their other traits. A human will endure any pain, overcome any obstacle, and fight any enemy to protect someone they care about. They will walk through fire for a friend. They will face death for a stranger. Morrow spoke for the first time, voice shaking through the translator. They would die for a stranger. That makes no sense. Why would any creature sacrifice itself for someone it does not know? Professor made a gesture that might have been a shrug. We do not fully understand it. Human researchers call it empathy, the ability to feel another being's pain as if it were your own. This trait, combined with their physical abilities, makes humans unpredictable in crisis situations. They do not respond to danger the way other species do. A student near the back suddenly spoke up. "Professor, are there any humans at the academy? Should we be concerned?" Hana's blood turned to ice. Professor made a calming gesture with her forearms. "The exchange program has brought a small number of humans to Harmony Prime. Yes, I believe there are 1 or 2 currently enrolled, but please do not worry. They are carefully monitored and regularly evaluated for psychological stability. The academy would never put students at risk." "That is good to know," the student said, but their eyes were scanning the room nervously. Hana felt gaze on her, then Morrow's. Then crystals turned in her direction, harmonics shifting to a high, worried pitch. One by one, the students in the back rows realized what the students in the front had not yet noticed. There was a human in the room. There had been a human in the room the entire time, and now they had spent an hour learning exactly why that should terrify them. Hana stayed perfectly still. She kept her eyes forward, her face calm, her breathing steady. She did not want to scare anyone more than they already were. But inside, her heart was breaking. She had come to this academy to learn, to make friends, to show the galaxy that humans were not monsters. Now she wondered if that was even possible. Hana sat in the silence that had fallen over the back of the classroom. She could feel the fear radiating from her classmates like heat from a fire. Professor was still talking at the front of the room, explaining more facts about human biology, but nobody in the back rows was listening anymore. They were all watching Hana, waiting to see what she would do. She had 2 choices. She could stay quiet, let the lecture end, and slip away. She could spend the rest of her time at the academy being avoided and whispered about, more alone than ever before. Or she could speak. Hana thought about her grandmother Sunyi, who had survived the war by being brave when bravery seemed impossible. She thought about her mother, who had held their family together through hard times with nothing but love and determination. She thought about her little brother Ho, who had cried when she left for the academy and made her promise to make him proud. She raised her hand. Professor stopped mid-sentence. She turned to look at the back of the room, expecting a question from one of her regular students. When she saw who had raised their hand, her wings went stiff and her compound eyes widened. "Yes, a student." "My name is Hana," she said. Her voice was quiet but steady. "I am from Earth, from a country called Korea." The classroom became absolutely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Professor stood frozen at her podium, 4 arms hanging limply at her sides. Hana stood up slowly, carefully. She had learned to move this way since arriving at the academy. Small movements, gentle gestures, nothing sudden or threatening. It hurt her pride to make herself small, but she did it anyway because she did not want to frighten anyone. "Everything you said about my planet is true," Hana said. "I will not pretend otherwise. Earth is dangerous. Humans are dangerous, but I think you left some things out." Professor's wings trembled, but she did not run. Hana respected that. "You talked about endurance hunting. You said we would follow animals until they died of exhaustion. This is true. Our ancestors did this for thousands of years." Hana took a careful step forward, flinched but did not flee. "But we do not do this anymore. We have not done this for a very long time. We learned to grow plants for food. We learned to raise animals peacefully. We changed because we wanted to stop killing." Another step. The students nearest to her shifted in their seats but stayed where they were. "You said we bond with predators. This is also true. Thousands of years ago, wolves came to our campfires. They were dangerous. They could have killed us, but instead we fed them. We gave them warmth. And over hundreds of generations, they became our friends. We call them dogs now, and we love them. They love us back." Hana thought about her own dog back home, a small white creature named who slept at the foot of her bed every night. She missed almost as much as she missed her family. "You said we are dangerous because we will fight even when we are hurt. This is true, but we do not fight because we like violence. We fight because we have things we want to protect, our families, our friends, our homes. Take away the threat and we do not want to fight at all. We want to rest. We want to be happy. We want peace." Hana was now standing in the middle of the classroom, halfway between the back rows and the professor's podium. She could see every student clearly. She could see the fear in their eyes, but she could also see something else. Curiosity, interest, the beginnings of understanding. "My grandmother lived through a war," Hana said. "She saw terrible things. She survived terrible things. By your standards, she should have been damaged, broken, dangerous." Hana's voice caught slightly, but she kept going. "But do you know what she did after the war? She became a nurse. She spent 50 years helping sick people get better. She cooked meals for poor families in her neighborhood. She gave money to children she never met in countries she would never visit." Crystalline form hummed with a new frequency. It was not fear anymore. It was something softer, warmer. "When my grandmother died last year, hundreds of people came to say goodbye. Hundreds of people whose lives she had touched with kindness. That is what humans do with our dangerous traits. We use them to protect, to heal, to love." Hana looked at. The small feathered being was watching her with those large dark eyes, no longer pressed against the far side of his seat. "I noticed that your feathers lose their shine when you are stressed. So I have been bringing you dried fruit from the cafeteria every day, because I read that it helps your species recover nutrients. I leave it on the table near your usual study spot." Blinked, that was you. I thought the cafeteria had changed suppliers. Hana almost smiled. It was me, because I noticed, because I cared. She turned to Morrow. "You need higher humidity during exam week. Your skin gets dry and it hurts you. So I started putting a water vessel near our shared study space. I refill it every morning before class." Morrow's skin flushed a color Hana had never seen before, something like surprise and gratitude mixed together. I wondered how that kept appearing. Finally, Hana looked at. "Your harmonics get strained in crowded places. Too many beings, too much noise, it overwhelms you. So I started sitting near you in the dining hall. I figured if there was one person nearby that you already knew, it would be one less stranger for you to process." Crystals rang with a beautiful, complex tone. "You sat near me on purpose, every day, for 3 months." "Every day," Hana confirmed. "You seemed overwhelmed. I wanted to help." The classroom was completely silent, but it was a different kind of silence now. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of thinking, of reconsidering, of seeing something in a new way. Professor finally found her voice. "You have been taking care of them, without being asked, without expecting anything in return. Hana nodded. That is what humans do. We notice when others are struggling, we try to help. We cannot stop ourselves. It is how we are built. The professor's wings slowly relaxed. Perhaps I have been teaching this unit incorrectly, she said quietly. I have focused only on what humans can destroy. I have not considered what they can build. Hana felt tears forming in her eyes, but she blinked them away. We are dangerous, she said. I will never deny that, but we are also kind. We are also gentle. We are also capable of love so strong that it changes everything it touches. She looked around the classroom at the beings who had feared her for 3 months, at the beings who might finally be ready to see her as something other than a monster. I came to this academy to learn, Hana said, but I also came to show the galaxy who we really are. Not just survivors not just predators with clever hands, but friends, partners, people who want to build something better than what we came from. Hopped one seat closer to her, just one, but closer. The fruit really does help, he said quietly. Thank you. Morrow's skin shifted to a warm yellow-green. Perhaps you could show me this cafeteria sometime. I would like to understand human food. Harmonics rose in a gentle melody. And I would like to hear music from your world. I have heard that humans make beautiful sounds. Hana felt the tears come now, but she did not try to stop them. This was another thing humans did that confused other species. They cried when they were happy. I would like that, she said. I would like that very much. Professor stepped down from her podium and walked slowly toward Hana. When she was close, she reached out with one delicate arm and touched Hana's hand gently. I think, the professor said, that tomorrow's lesson will be different. I think we have much more to learn about your species than I realized, and I think you might be the best teacher for it. Hana held the professor's fragile hand carefully, aware of her own strength, aware of how easily she could cause harm. But she would never cause harm, not to these beings, not to anyone who did not threaten the one she loved. Because that was what it meant to be human, to be dangerous and gentle at the same time, to be capable of destruction but to choose creation instead, to carry the legacy of but to build something beautiful from it. Hana smiled, and for the first time since arriving at the academy, she did not hide her teeth. Her classmates did not run. They smiled back.